Hey again, Christian Story 1 students. Pastor Tim here coming to you today from my home office just off campus here in Orange City with a special video about our biblical story paper. Now, before we go there, congratulations are in order. You've finished mini exam 3 and all the quizzes are done and all of your reflection essays are done. There's just one thing left before Christian Story 1 concludes, but it's a big thing. It's going to involve you doing a lot of thinking, some research, some studying, some work in the Anderson text, which I think will help you as well. But this is it. This is your final project. Without a final exam, this is where your grade will land for the semester based on how well you do on this paper. So hope you're enjoying Thanksgiving, or that you have. And now I'd like to give you some direction about finishing off your final paper. I call this a walkthrough, and a lot of this information I've given to you already, but I thought I could pull it together one more time in just a brief, helpful video that will discuss how to go about building a college level paper. So for some of you, this will be kind of a new thing. You haven't written a college paper yet, so it's a little bit different, and it's going to take some effort. So I want to encourage you with this little video. I'm going to switch to a slightly different mode here so my funny face doesn't cover up any of the PowerPoint slides. But I'd like to walk you through 7 steps in this process of writing your paper. And I think if you follow these, you're going to be in really good shape to submit that paper either on time, which would be December 15, or early with a bonus point on December 10. So let's start with step 1. And I say in step 1, begin with the end. So pick your theme carefully. And I say begin with the end because the conclusion of this biblical story paper is going to involve you doing some personal reflection on this biblical theme and sharing about how it connects with your own experience. So where do you feel a personal connection? What speaks to your experience already in life? Something you've had in high school or growing up? Something that's been pivotal in your life formation already. Which of these themes make you curious to learn more? What's whetted your appetite when you look at this list? What's something you've been thinking about as we've shared in the course to this point? Or perhaps where do you sense a call into the future? Which of these ideas makes you think about life after Christian Story 1? Maybe even life after Northwestern? Which of these ideas really kind of grips your heartstrings and you want to look into it further? I'm going to offer you the opportunity to look one more time at some suggested themes. This is not exhaustive, but this is a kind of a list of some possibilities. And I would encourage you, if you want to, just go ahead and pause the video right now. And then when you've maybe landed on one, go ahead and push play again. Okay, so there are some themes, all kinds of different ideas there. Some are more tangible, some are more ideas and conceptual. Everything from employment to clouds to the light of the world. I think that any one of these themes and a whole bunch of others have texts that you can work with across the 5 C's of our biblical narrative arc. From creation through covenant to Christ, church, and consummation. Hopefully something there either grabs your attention or trips your imagination to think about something that's not on the list. Step 2 would be work your introduction. As you begin this paper, I want you to just set the Bible to the side for a moment and think about why this theme or concept or motif would have been significant to someone who didn't know the Bible in the ancient world. Why does, for instance, a person have any interest at all in the mountains or in roads or in ascension or in technology? What do we know about these kind of things and how people experienced them in the ancient world? Are there other historical sources that you can look at? Did Aristotle talk about this? Are there Egyptian texts or Persian or Babylonian texts that make reference to this idea? How is this connected with people's everyday lives? Was this a family situation? or something that people faced in terms of their work, or they're planning about traveling. How would someone who didn't know the Bible experience this theme? Again, you can feel free to begin with Google or Wikipedia, but then use the library to find some more scholarly kind of materials and sources. Just 2 to 4, 3 is probably a good number there to talk about in your paper. So figure out why this is something that the Bible authors would have used in their literature, because perhaps someone who didn't know about God or the Israelites or the church would have been drawn to that theme. There's something about life that connects with that particular theme. I want you to figure out what it is and why it would have mattered in the ancient world. So in some sense, in this part of the paper, we're going back and we're revisiting the very first module of this course, even before creation, looking at extra biblical sources and factors around the ancient world that gave us a frame that we filled in with our biblical studying. Step 3 then is to go to the Bible. And I want you to explore the scriptures for recurrence. So it's really simple to get started with this. You can use Google or Bible Gateway, or even an old school concordance like you can find in the library. Just do some searching for these themes and see what is spit out. I don't expect you to have the whole Bible memorized at this point, that you would know where all of these references are. Hopefully, if you're using one of the themes I have, or you found another equally rich theme, you're going to have maybe dozens of references in the Bible that you can choose from, maybe hundreds. Don't pick the first 5 that pop up. For one reason, they're not all going to be spread out among the 5 C's. But also, I want you to read some of these texts in their context. Look at how these themes are appearing in Genesis and Exodus, and then in Jeremiah, and then in John, and then in 1 Peter. And find 5 really cool places where that theme pops up. Again, make sure that you have a reference from each of the 5 C sections of the biblical narrative arc: creation, covenant, church, church, and then consummation. And there might be some flexibility, especially around creation and around church. Creation isn't just the first 11 chapters of Genesis. There are some creation psalms, there's creation prophecies. And if you have any questions about those kind of things, go ahead and email me, and I'd be happy to help clarify kind of which of those C's it fits best in. But you can use 2 readings that we've read in this class. Beyond that, I'd like you to find at least 3 that we haven't worked with already. And let me emphasize this final bullet point on this screen. Don't stay within a single genre. I don't think that would be helpful for your grade. Pull from 4 or 5, if you can, different kinds of genres: stories, poems, letters, psalms, prophecies, legal codes, things like that. The more variety you've got, the more different kind of angles that you look into the theme, different types of literature, different facets, the better your grade is going to be. Step 4 then, outline your paper. So after you've got those 5 passages, and you know why this particular passage would be important beyond just the biblical context, and this theme would have mattered to people who didn't have the Bible, go ahead and just do an outline. You can probably do an outline just on a single sheet of paper, but you've got some cues there on how much to start writing, or how much to kind of glean and begin to prepare for each one of the elements of this particular essay. An introduction, some extra biblical significance, and then walking through those 5 C's in sequence. And there's a guideline for each one of the aspects of the paper right there. But I do let's share these on December 8th. I think on December 8th, so the Tuesday before, I guess the last Tuesday of class, get you in small groups together and have you talk about these for a while. And maybe you can spur each other on to some more thinking, but make sure that you bring with you at least an outline of your paper, if not maybe a draft, on December 8th in a couple of weeks. Then, after it's outlined and you've had a chance to visit with some of your classmates, maybe sent me an email or draft, write your essay out. Yeah, you're eventually going to have to do this. And what you've already collected there, try to keep to about 6 pages. That's probably going to be sufficient for you to check off the boxes that we've discussed already. Please don't try to get to 6 pages by pasting 24 verses of scripture, okay? If there's anything more than 5 verses, just cite it, okay? Say, all of Psalm 123 is about this, or see Psalm 24, and then use Northwestern guidelines for references, etc. If you're at 5.5 pages, great. If you're at 7 pages, okay. If you're at 11 pages, you've got too much. If you're at 3 pages, you've got work to do. I think somewhere in that 5 to 7 pages is a really healthy amount to have at this point. After that, then, I'd like you to reflect personally in your conclusion. Go back to where we started. Why did you pick this theme? How does it speak into your life? How does it anticipate maybe where you want to go in the future? And then even on a more devotional level, if you're a follower of Jesus like I am, what new insights has God placed in you through this research? And perhaps what does this particular theme portend for your career as a student at Northwestern? Is this going to factor into your major, perhaps, or how you deal with friendships, or your participation in a musical group, anything like that? How does this empower courageous living and learning at Northwestern College? Finally, then, after you have that written out and you're doing some revising and some editing, please do revisit the rubric on Blackboard in the guidelines paper. This particular essay is kind of graded on 5 components, each of which is about 20% of your grade. So make sure that you do look through those as you do your final revisions and edits. Make sure you understand what I'm looking for in terms of professionalism, adventuresome spirit, solid scholarship, creativity as you explore that theme. That's how I'm going to be grading you. If you want a better grade, I mean, this isn't rocket science. Go back and look at what the instructor is looking for. So revisit that rubric. So then in conclusion for this essay, I thought I would do what I've already done a couple times in the previous video about this paper, and that is give you kind of an example outline, at least some biblical text around one theme. Now, this is a bit more complex theme than you may want to take on, but it's also one I thought that because none of you are likely to take on, I would be able to do myself right now and not risk just having you rip off my material. Don't do that. Bad idea. The theme I would like to explore just in a couple of moments here is the idea of atonement. The idea of atonement is a biblical theme that we've seen appear a number of times as we've learned about sacrifice, and especially sacrifice where one person or an animal is substituted on behalf of another. Something pure goes in on behalf of someone impure, or something impure, and stands in and covers over their sin. Now again, if that sounds like it's beyond some of the stuff we've talked about in class, you're probably right. It is. So I think it's a good example just for me to use as if I was going to write a paper at this point in my career. Looking at that first seed creation, Genesis 3 tells a story about Adam and Eve falling into sin and then being ashamed of their nakedness. After this happens, God provides animal skins. So some animal is sacrificed to cover over Adam and Eve's shame. So we get this idea of standing in to provide purity, the covering over of the sin of Adam and Eve. In covenant, we read the prophecy. So we get a little different genre here. The prophecy of Isaiah, who talks about the servant of the Lord who is pierced for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. The idea in this prophecy is that one person is harmed and is willingly, lovingly doing so that another person can be saved. The Christ part of the narrative here, Matthew 26, verse 28, at the Lord's Supper, Jesus promises that his blood is of the covenant. So actually, he's doing a cross-reference here back to the book of Jeremiah and about forgiving sins. This is an atonement theme. In Romans chapter 3, we have a church appearance of the idea of atonement. The Apostle Paul provides an extended discussion on the atonement there through the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus. A wonderful passage to explore there as well. And then in consummation, we have in Revelation 5 a worship song. Again, another different genre. We have narrative, prophecy, gospel, epistle, worship song. And in Revelation 5, John envisions a lamb standing as if it had been slaughtered as the Savior of the world. And everyone celebrates. So I would want to share a little bit about how atonement functions in the ancient world. What did other countries and nations do for sacrifice? How did they understand their relationship of purity and impurity before their gods? And then also think about how, in the end, I need to be forgiven. Is there an event in my life that requires the atonement of Jesus Christ? And then how will I be celebrating with all those at the end of time when Jesus provides that final atonement? That's what I would want to write in my conclusion. So again, this isn't going to answer all of your questions and all of your concerns. This is a challenge that's laid before you at the end of this class to draw those cross-biblical references and to find common ideas in this theme and to explore the different facets of themes as well and to draw that out in the final essay. We're going to use our friend Bernard Anderson to help us think about this too. And the more you read of Anderson before you write, the better that will be. We'll be talking about this more when we get to class on December 3 as well. But please feel free to email me between now and then with any questions that you have. And I'd be happy to work with you as you develop your final paper. Until then, God bless you. See you soon.